Welcome to Creative Ways to Engage Families and Community Members. Lessons from co-creating resources with families to demystify special education. Welcome again, everyone. I'm Donna Sacco, and I am a Senior Technical Assistance Consultant with the American Institutes for Research. I am so thrilled to join our team today. I'm trying to let people in as I'm welcoming you. Kathleen Donovan from the Parent Resource Center in Arlington, Virginia, Arlington Public Schools will be joining us. Gina Arriga was hopefully going to join us, but she had a last-minute emergency. And Monica Lozano Caldera, hopefully she'll be able to join us. She was in our last session and I accidentally kicked her out, so now we're having trouble getting her back in, but hopefully she will be here with us as well. And it just gives me great pleasure to welcome this group from Arlington Public Schools. Full disclosure, it is where I served as a special educator and English as a second language teacher for 12 years. So Arlington, Virginia is very near and dear to my heart. I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen and let her walk you through La Sopa de la Abuela, Grandma's Soup. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Donna. It's such an honor to be here, and hopefully my colleague Monica will be back shortly. She's working really hard to get back into the meeting, and we are just thrilled to be here with the Progress Center community today. And we thank Donna and the organization for their kind invitation and for coordinating this session. We're very excited to share, I think probably a project that I expect will be the highlight of my career, La Sopa de la Abuela. On the next slide, our learning objectives today are to really explain, how and why we created the telenovela, share how we think the telenovela can support families and staff in collaboratively navigating that special education process together, hopefully provide you with some new tools, ideas, and resources to prepare families to navigate the process and advocate for their children, and to reflect on the incredible power of collaborative approaches when we work together with families. Just a little bit about our team. I love that alphabetically, Gina Arriga is the first member of our team, and she will be presenting virtually today. We have some video clips to share. Gina Arriga is an amazing parent leader. She is the parent of 3 children, 2 of whom receive special education support in Arlington Public Schools. She has just been an incredible support to our community, especially of families who speak Spanish. And Gina joined me and 3 or 4 other folks as a member of the initial design team that created La Sopa de la Abuela. My colleague Monica, who hopefully will be here shortly, is a diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator. She has a background in counseling and mental health, and is just an incredible and dynamic educator who works closely with students and staff. And finally, I am also a veteran educator. I started my career in pre-K special education and also worked at the elementary level. I was a child find coordinator and very happily landed at the Arlington Public Schools Parent Resource Center about 20 years ago. And I've stayed because I love the work and I find it gratifying every single day. I love getting to work with families and to learn with and from families. So that's a little bit about our team. One of the things we always do when we are hosting parent sessions is giving parents a chance to connect with one another and with us. My dear colleague, Dr. Rosa Briseño, who was one of my fellow design team members, was really masterful in using family engagement strategies during family learning sessions. And she taught me a new word called conociéndonos, which means getting to know each other. So we'll keep going, but we'd invite you now, even though we're virtual, to share a little bit about, now that you know a little bit about us, share a little bit about yourself in the chat, and we can find out who is here in our virtual space. So please feel free in the chat to add your name, your role in district and organization, and what brings you to the session. And just to be efficient, we'll keep moving while you do that. And we'll tell you a little bit, I think when we're working with colleagues across the country, like we have the privilege of doing today, some of us might be in rural districts, some of us might be in urban districts. So we wanted to give you a little bit of information about our community and who we are, which I think led to why we created this project. So we are located just across the beautiful Potomac River from Washington, D.C. We're the 13th largest of Virginia's 132 school districts. And in our 26 square miles, we have 26 elementary, 6 middle, 4 high schools. We also have 6 additional secondary programs and a K-12 virtual learning program. We also have pre-K programs as part of many of our elementary schools as well. We really pride ourselves on our amazing and wonderful diversity. Our students hail from 142 nations and speak 115 different languages. And you can see from the pie chart on the screen that we are a richly diverse community. So I'll let you take a look at that. We also have about 32% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. On the next slide, this gives you just a glimpse of what percentage of students come from families who speak a language other than English at home. So we have almost 30% of our families speak a language other than English at home, and 29%, but of that percentage, 32%, so almost a third of our families who speak a language other than English at home have children who are also receiving special education services, so they're duly identified. We were very proud that our school board gave us a mandate to actually adopt a family and community engagement policy several years ago. And this really aligns, our FACE policy aligns the dual capacity framework, organization, and process conditions. So what are the conditions that are present in a school district that really help robust and authentic family engagement? And we base our FACE work on those, as well as the national PTA standards. And these policies really led the foundation for how La Sopa de la Abuela came to be. Here in APS, we always believe it's important to start with why we do the work we do, to focus and identify that. And our why for this project was simple but very compelling. We know that both parents and staff care very deeply about outcomes for students. We know, as you do, that family engagement positively impacts those outcomes. And we also know that the regulations that govern special education require family engagement. So that's a big part of our why, because what we also know, and I'm sure you do as well, is that this process can be very emotional for families, and it can be very complex. I think the word I hear most often is that it's overwhelming. And I hear that from families who speak English as well as other languages. But trying to then also navigate this process in a language that is not your native language, obviously, significantly makes things more complicated, harder, and more overwhelming. So with conversations between my colleagues and with families, we clarified a very significant need in our community, which was how could we help families who are speaking other languages navigate this process in the way that the federal and state laws expect them to do so, which means from a place of informed consent and knowledge. So at this point on the next slide, I'd love you to hear from my dear friend and my co-design team member, and also the star of our telenovela, Gina Arriga.
Thank you, Kathleen. Well, when I arrived to the United States with my 3 kids, my 2 kids, they are in special education. I knew for sure that they were going to need they need help, they need support. So when I approached the school and I got the first letter, I got very stressed, and it was difficult for me, because even though I know a little bit of English and I understand a little bit, it was difficult for me because all the language that they use for the letters, all the language that they use at the meetings were difficult to understand. For all the acronyms that they use, all the language that they use, it was like listening to and like another planet conversation. It was so weird. And also with all the emotions, because you don't understand all the terminology, the regular terminology that they use for all the, for the delays and all that kind of stuff. And also, it's painful for the parents try to get into your soul that your son is really in need of help, that he is behind, that he's going to need support forever. That gives you like a sad feeling, and being in those meetings all by yourself with all those people. I know that they are there for help, to help you, but at that time you feel like everybody's talking about your son.
Right.
And it's very difficult. I didn't get all the steps, what is going on, what is going to happen. It was very, very difficult. I think that something that really helped me was when I went to your office and you sat down with me and my husband, and you explained to us all the process, everything that you were going to do, because otherwise you don't get anything about that meeting. That meeting is just a lot of nervous. You just say yes for whatever they say, or you just close your mind and say, no, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to do anything. My son is good. And after approaching you, it's been like, okay, I know what I have to do. I know the steps that I have to do. I know that I can fight for my daughter. I know that I can tell them that I don't agree with something. Because I know now, I know that I have the right, I know that I have the voice. I don't feel like this little person that's with everybody who knows about everything. Thank you.
I'm so glad you had a chance to hear from Gina. And I think that really, her story really does underscore our why. She really helped us, and honestly, her story was a compass almost for the work that drove our production. So that was a little bit about the why, and I think the next, now that we've talked about the why, was how do we respond to the need? And as we considered the various options available to us, our team was drawn to principles of both adult education and also a concept that actually I was not familiar with, called popular education, that was pioneered by Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educator and philosopher who became a leading figure in this critical pedagogy across the world. And he developed what he called a problem-posing approach that continues to inspire educators today. And it recognizes the crucial role of dialogue in adult learning and the necessity to base any teaching that we do on the learner's own lives and lived experiences. So the telenovela really served the format as a type of a cultural code where people could see themselves reflected and could focus their attention in a real life problem that they faced. So the first, I think, one of the things I'm most proud of about the work is that we didn't do it for parents, we did it with parents, and that changed everything. As we considered our FACE policy and the dual capacity framework, we recognized immediately that we couldn't just make a video that shared what we thought parents should know, but rather we really needed to co-create this work with families. So the design team started by creating a script. We, kind of rolled out the script and fleshed it out. Dr. Briseño brought her knowledge of family and community engagement. I tried to bring my decades of special education experience and work with families. And then the parents brought their stories, and they brought, culturally what resonated and what would, be reflective of their lived and authentic experiences. So we worked together, and then we did some focus groups to kind of, test the waters and see whether or not the messages we were trying to convey actually resonated. And then we went back to the drawing board and kept working and working. So it was a collaborative process throughout. And then fortunately, we were able to work with an amazing team, our Arlington Educational Television team, to begin pre-production. And on the next slide, you can see some great photos of how we started our pre-production. I think we're on slide 18 when we get to that. There we go. And the AETV team really helped us take our story and learn how to take it from written words into actual moving images. They really worked with us. And I'll always remember them saying, you have to show your story, not just tell your story. So we did that. We tried to work with them. And then we, just as you would, I guess, making any, video production, we put out a call for auditions. All of the cast members that you'll see in our telenovela are either parents in our community. We have a couple of our students from our community, as well as staff members. We initially, like one example of how we kind of continued to collaborate throughout the pre-production process was we initially didn't have grandparents in the script. And when two of our colleagues showed up for auditions, they were a little troubled that they didn't think there were any, roles for more mature adults. And we kind of had them just talk and pretend they were grandparents. And then when we saw the magic that happened with the two of them on screen, we realized we had to go back to the drawing board again and create more more roles for a family. And we also recognize that many of us are living in transgenerational households. So we were very thrilled to be able to add a richness to the home life that you'll see in the telenovela. The video production happened. We filmed with a 4-person team from our Arlington Educational Television Group. And we filmed both in several of our schools, as well as our administrative central office where my Parent Resource Center space is located, as well as in Dr. Rosa Briseno's home. So you'll see a lot of, a lot of different scenes and environments throughout the telenovela. Our AETV colleagues said that they actually went back and watched a lot of telenovelas so that they could understand more about the drama and the style of Spanish language telenovelas. We were disheartened a little bit that COVID kind of shut down our operation. So this has been a project that has been literally years in the making, but we were completely shut down for 2 years because we couldn't get our amazing crew into their space and connect it with their technology. But we continued during the pandemic to try to work on things like subtitling, realizing that we wanted this to be accessible, not just to folks who speak Spanish, but to anybody who would like to watch it, especially staff members too, who might not speak Spanish. So that's a little bit about our production. And without any further ado, I'd like to give you an opportunity to watch episode 1. This is a series of 5 episodes. And episode 1 is called What's Going On with My Child. And we hope you'll grab your popcorn and dim your lights and enjoy La Sopa de la Abuela.
Deliciosa.
Lidia, ¿qué estás haciendo?
Me asustaste. Es una carta de la escuela.
Tú sabes que Lucía y José llegan en cualquier momento. Eso no es de nosotros. Por favor, deja la mesa.
Mira, no estoy haciendo nada malo. Solo quiero saber qué le pasa a mi nieto, que tal vez esté en problemas.
Es que no
Juan.
puede ser eso así. Mira, mejor vamos a ver la telenovela de anoche que no la terminamos de ver.
La telenovela, vámonos. Vente,
Vamos.
así. Vámonos.
¿Qué es esto? ¿Estudio del niño? ¿Una reunión? ¿Hay algún problema con mi hijo? Oh, es hora de recoger a los niños de la escuela. Tal vez Karina sepa algo de esta carta. Hey, Karina. ¿Cómo estás, amiga? Qué bueno que te veo. Tengo una pregunta.
¿Está bien? Luces preocupada.
Sí, sabes, estoy preocupada. Hoy recibí esta carta de la escuela. Es sobre mi hijo y no sé de qué se trata. No sé si hay algo malo.
Recibí la misma carta cuando refirieron a mi hijo para recibir educación especial.
¿Educación especial? ¿Hay algo malo con mi hijo?
No, no te preocupes. Eso quiere decir que la escuela quiere hablar contigo. Algo debe estar sucediendo con el niño. Ven, vamos donde Jackie. Ella debe saber lo que está pasando.
Gracias, amiga.
Buenas tardes, Jackie. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenas tardes, bienvenidas. ¿En qué les puedo ayudar?
Lucía recibió esa carta hoy. ¿Se la puedes explicar, por favor?
Claro. Por lo general, esto significa que alguien refirió a su hijo porque tienen una preocupación. ¿La maestra de Pedro ha hablado con usted acerca de las dificultades que le está teniendo en la escuela?
Bueno, en la conferencia de padres y maestros hablamos acerca de la lectura de Pedro y hace unos meses nos reunimos para hablar acerca de qué iban a hacer.
Bueno, el Child Study Committee es un grupo de personas que hablará con usted sobre cómo le está yendo a Pedro en la escuela y lo que han estado intentando. A veces determinan si es necesario hacer algunas pruebas.
Yo también fui a esa reunión. Había muchas personas ahí. Estaba el maestro de mi hijo, había un psicólogo, estaba el subdirector y había muchas personas que ni siquiera sabía quiénes eran.
Is she going to sign?
Eso me van a dar si usted va a firmar.
Estoy muy confundida. No entiendo nada.
She's very confused. No entiendo nada. She don't understand.
You understand?
¿Usted entendió? Está confundida. She's confused.
Estoy confundida. Muy confundida.
Just very confused. Confused.
¿Por qué tanta gente?
Sí, lo sé. Le va a parecer que es mucha gente, pero cada uno de ellos va a compartir con usted información sobre su hijo y lo que han observado en la escuela. Y van a explicarle el motivo de la reunión. Es normal estar nerviosa, pero yo voy a estar allí para ayudarle en la interpretación. Y también puede invitar a quien usted guste.
Sabes, recuerdo mi primera reunión. Era mucha información. Me sentía nerviosa, muy confundida. Me costó mucho tiempo entender que era educación especial.
¿Educación especial? Pero ¿eso no es para niños que tienen serias dificultades?
Bueno, mucha gente piensa eso, pero la educación especial brinda ayuda a niños con diferentes tipos de necesidades. Por ejemplo, algunos niños solo necesitan ayuda en lectura o en matemáticas.
Yo fui al Centro de Recursos para Padres de Familia. Ellos tienen mucha información, ellos saben mucho sobre educación especial. Sabes, me hubiese gustado ir antes. Tienen mucha información, muchos recursos. Se pueden reunir contigo para ayudarte, explicarte en qué va a consistir la reunión y para las próximas reuniones.
¡Qué buena idea! Aquí tengo la información. Definitivamente debe llamar y hacer una cita.
Gracias, Jackie. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Jackie, por tu tiempo.
Lucía, mi amor, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo ha estado tu día?
Ahí, mamá.
¿Cómo están los niños?
Igual.
Igual.
¿Sabes? Todos los días hay algo.
Porque yo como que vi que te llegó una carta de la escuela. ¿Tú puedes decir qué quieren?
Mamá, por favor.
Ay,
Pero Lucía, por el amor de Dios, hija, solo dime un poquito, por favor. Si yo me preocupo, yo soy la abuela, soy tu madre, yo te quiero.
Déjala tranquila, por favor.
Y este que solo habla y habla y habla y no hace nada. Ya. ¿Me vas a contar?
Mamá, tengo que hablar primero con José y después te cuento, ¿sí?
Pero soy
Y
tu
luego
mamá.
te cuento.
Pero soy tu mamá, ¿por qué le vas a hablar a él primero que a mí? Yo aquí
Te
desesperada.
cuento, mamá.
Bueno, lo que quieras, pero yo sigo preocupada. Qué ricas las fresas, mija. ¿Dónde las compraste?
Ay, en un mercado, mamá, cerca de la casa.
Están
Pedrito,
bien fritas.
si terminaste de comer, vamos a leer un libro de historia. ¿Qué te parece?
¿Ya terminaste, mijito? ¿Sí?
Ya,
¿Quieres salir con el abuelo? Bueno, váyanse pues el abuelo y yo me quedo aquí con
¿Quieres
mis...
ir a leer una historia?
Pero ¿por qué no me tienes que decir qué?
Ah, sí.
Pero él ni siquiera sabe cómo leer.
No
Ay,
seas
no seas
grosera.
hermano.
Deja a tu hermano tranquilo. No seas así. Deja tranquilo a tu hermano. No la trates tan mal. Pedrito, no te preocupes. Ella lo hace solo por molestarte. Tú eres muy bueno en matemáticas. Increíblemente bueno. ¿Qué te parece si vamos a leer la historia ahora? ¿Quieres venir? Abuelita, ¿tú quieres ir a venir y leer con nosotros?
Pues yo quisiera quedarme aquí conversando con mis
No,
hijos.
vamos ahora que vamos a ir a leer. Pedrito, vamos.
Vayan a leer con
Tú
él.
también,
Vaya, mi
vente.
amorcito, vaya.
Ya, vamos.
Bueno, pues si me sacan, ¿qué me queda?
¿Qué te pasa? Dime, ¿qué te pasa?
Espera. Llegó esta carta hoy. Es de la escuela. Es para una reunión sobre Pedro de educación especial.
¿Y ahora qué?
Quieren que vayamos a una reunión de educación especial.
¿Educación especial?
Sí, yo sé.
No hay nada malo con mi hijo.
Yo sé. Hoy fui a hablar con Karina y con Jackie a la escuela y lo que están haciendo con Pedro no está funcionando.
Mi hijo es como todos los demás. Yo no quiero que lo traten diferente.
Sí, yo sé. Pero no está haciendo los deberes. Se frustra y tal vez puedan ayudarlo. Vamos a la reunión para ver qué pasa.
No sé. Yo no estoy seguro de esto.
Pero vamos.
No.
Kathleen, Monica has joined us.
I know, I'm so excited. So I'll give Monica a moment to just get caught up. We hope you enjoyed episode 1, and we hope we left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger about whether or not her husband will read the paperwork, visit the Parent Resource Center, what's he going to do next? So we tried to follow the telenovela style and have a little cliffhanger at the end of each one, but we'll give you a little sneak peek with a preview of what's coming up in the rest of our episodes. So in episode 2, the husband and wife do indeed come to visit the Parent Resource Center to begin accessing information and support and to figure out what they need to know to navigate the process. In episode 3, we film in one of our school conference rooms and tried to make it very much like what we call a student support team process. And I'll pause here. We used to call these student study committee meetings, but I'm guessing that most of you are in districts that have some type of a special education cyclical process that works through referral, evaluation, a determination of eligibility, and then leads to an IEP, annual IEPs, and then 3-year reevaluations following those federal guidelines. So this is the kind of the first meeting where they bring the family and the team together to discuss concerns about our little friend Pedro. And this team does determine indeed to go ahead and refer the child for a special education evaluation. And during episode 3, we also tried to use the episode as a way to help families understand what happens during each different evaluation. And we have video clips and footage of, the child being observed in a classroom, the child working with the school psychologist, because, one of the things I think many families are confused about is why are there so many tests and what do they all mean? So that's a little bit of what happens in episode 3. In episode 4, Pedro is diagnosed as having, or is identified, I should say, is identified as having a learning disability. And, we see the family deal with a little bit of grief around that. We see the family deal with some feelings of guilt, questioning whether they did something wrong. We also see the family turn to, especially Lucia, turn to her friend Karina, whose name is actually really Karina. Karina was one of the other amazing parents that co-created this project with us. We know that many of us, when we're dealing with a challenge, might, in addition to turning to our families, we may turn to close and trusted friends. And in this situation, Karina really mentored Gina and helped connect her to resources. So we wanted to feature that a little bit, as well as like how the whole family pulls together to think about the next steps and move forward. So we get to see lots of great scenes at home as well. And then finally, in episode 5, Pedro's been identified and, it's been found eligible, and the family is now preparing to actively engage with the IEP team. And we show an actual IEP meeting. And one of the things we wanted to feature here was how sometimes parents and staff might have disagreements. We really wanted to, normalize that process, prepare parents to know, that they do have a right to disagree, they have a right to ask questions, they have a right to, take some time and mull things over. But we also tried to emphasize how much sometimes we get a better outcome when we take time to further discuss and dive a little deeper into a parent question or concern and keep talking and keep collaborating. So episode 5 talks about what happens when you disagree and how you move forward. So that's a little bit of the synopsis. And now it's my great privilege and thrill to welcome my colleague Monica to the session. And she's going to tell you a little bit about, now that we have the telenovela, I'm sorry, before I introduce Monica, I'm going to let Monica take another minute. We're going to let Gina come back and talk a little bit about how, as a parent, she thinks the telenovela would be helpful. And then you'll get to meet my friend Monica.
I think that the telenovela is such a great tool because it gives the perspective to the family of what really is going to happen. Mm-hmm. You really know the steps of all the meetings, what you're going to find in every single meeting, why you're going to every single meeting. You also see the perspectives of the family, the feelings, the real feelings that you go through during all the process. But also, I think that the telenovela is such a great tool because it's going also to give the staff and teachers the perspectives of what is going on in the minds and in the families, because they don't know that. They don't know that what they are, all the phrases, all the words that they use, that maybe for them is quite normal, is the right way to approach, is the right way to do. They maybe don't understand how the parent is feeling at that time. If the parent is understanding what they are saying, if using that the very academic language or the acronyms that they use is affecting the family when they are having the meeting. I think that is an important message, so they can really feel and be in the shoes of the family. And I think that telenovela is showing that. Mm-hmm. It's showing the pain behind, the meeting. Behind the meeting is a family, is a person, is a mom, is a dad. So I think that is the most important message that the telenovela is giving. Something that also that is important for me, Kathleen, is like when we show in the telenovela that we go to the meeting, to the PRC, mm-hmm. and how the mom changes with the information, because information is powerful, because when she gets the information from the PRC, when she gets all the language that they are going to use, when she gets prepared for the next meeting, when she knows what they are going to talk about in the next meeting, when she writes down, okay, I'm going to tell them this, I want them to take care of this, I want them to realize that this is happening. That gives the parent the strong voice to know, okay, I have the power to talk for my son. I can encourage other parents to do the same for their kids. So that gives also the parent, the ability to say, okay, I don't agree with you, and maybe I'm going to think about this, mm-hmm. and not being afraid to say no.
Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you, everyone. And my apologies for the problem with the connections. I'm happy to be here today and excited from Colombia with my coffee here, making sure we are connected and supporting families everywhere in the world. Something that Gina mentioned in the different occasions is the voice of the parents. We believe the telenovela is an equity tool. We believe that by showing the novela and providing the parents for the information and giving them the power, we really close the gap that exists for parents who are second language learners, but also that are receiving service in special education. We know by experience that sometimes these parents sign papers that they don't know what really they say. They sign or accept services that they are not really what the child needed. Then it's important for us to empower them to, educate, advocate, and celebrate the parent participation in any process related to the special education. With that, I will happy to share how we are moving forward with this work. The work that we are going to do is also based on parent and staff conversations. We know where we need it, and now we are figuring out the way that it get to the parents, the way that they need it and the way that they want it, the way that we think is it. Then first, we have two ways to use the novela with the parents. The first one is an independent web-based learning with every parent and every one of you can access to the 5 episodes free in our webpage. You can access to these episodes and just watch it in your own pace or use it as much as you can with the community that you work with as an educational tool. Another way that we are also using this is by developing, we are already running some of in-person workshops, and we are using a research guide that we have for each one of the chapters. Then over the episodes, we watch the episode and we take the key messages for each one of them and do some activities with the parents and making sure they not only understand, but they are practicing the skills that we want the parents to develop. Every one of these workshops in person is co-facilitated with a parent. We are not doing anything, staff running this. This is the parents, and the staff is helping and collaborating with the parent to run these workshops. Unfortunately, because COVID, when we have the novella ready to go, COVID came, then we did a virtual launch. It was very elegant and the whole thing. We wanted to make it the red carpet and the whole thing at the beginning, but we were able to run a wonderful co-facilitation with parents workshop online. We have a lot of participation. It was amazing. And we have some, and Kathleen will share a little bit about the result of this way that we did it. We also did an in-person one-day workshop, but we're hoping to work with the parents to run 5 sessions or something like that, something that really gave us the space, the time, and the love for the parents to use it in the way that benefit the whole community. These are the two ways that we work with parents with the novella. And we know that because we work on the dual capacity framework, that we give the teachers and the staff also access to it. That is why you see that every episode is subtitled in English, to give the information, the understanding of what is going on. And Gina said beautifully, we want the staff and the teachers to know what happened with the parent, what are the emotions, what are the fears, what are the power of the parent during those sessions, and open a space for us as a staff, not only to understand, but intentionally to do something about it, having the conversation, explain step by step, giving the resources, etc., etc. I think with that, we really want the tool to be used, the novella as a tool to be used for everyone who need it and who can access to it. Another thing is that now that you know, or the parents who get to know the novella, they and you become a powerful tool for others. You can be the person who can inform, who can share the information, who can clarify some questions, etc., etc. And then we really are hoping that the novella is used everywhere in the way that is needed in the community that you are. I will share with you in the next slide a little bit about our guide. I love this because the guides are also very interactive. Every episode have a booklet that will tell you exactly what to do when we work with the parents in the parent session. And one of the activities that we have is, for example, this one where we ask the by table and group of parents with the staff to share or to match the role of the person that is talking with the person that is doing it. And they match the role of the student support team members, and they tell us exactly what each one of them will do when they are working with the child. Another activity that Kathleen loves is the ruleta, la famosa ruleta en español. We love this one because the parents in the big group are invited to, play the ruleta, and they will tell us which one of these team members do what, and they will be in their own words and checking for understanding to figure out if they know exactly what this person does when they are working on the team around your child's success. And another one that I love is how we are able to talk about all those feelings and also the fears that are happening. Then after we watch some of the episodes, we ask the people about, what they observe and stuff like that. And something that we always notice is the reaction when the people see the word stigma or stereotype. It's only a kind of face change. People react to that, and they express how this word, especially in the Latino community, and I talk about my own experience in our countries, the support for special education is very limited and is very stereotyped. Then the children or the students who are in the special education or need the special education services are seen in a different way and sometimes discriminated by because of that. Then we open the conversation with these words that doesn't matter where you are in the world means something to you. Then we have the conversation about them through these very intentional questions during the process. So we see it here when we talk about the stigma, share your reflection in your group about what is the stigma for you, or what happened when the people see this in your country or in your community, etc. And now we'll ask back to Kathleen and sharing a little bit about what happened in our pilot. It was amazing, and she will share with you a little bit more about the results of these sessions.
Thanks, Monica. So as Monica said, she and I, along with Gina and my colleague Emma at our Peer Resource Center, facilitated the first session virtually. And then this past November, we held a first Saturday learning seminar. It was funded by our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion department that Monica works with, so that we could provide lunch and spend the whole day together. The episodes all are pretty short, between 7 and 10 minutes or so. So we were able to go through each episode and then have, Monica mentioned our learning guides. We have learning facilitation guides for each episode to do all of these activities. And we had great results. On the next slide, you can see that we showed an increase, we did pre-tests and post-tests, and the results indicated that that more parents indicated that they understood all of the steps in the special education process. They understood that their consent was required for all special education decisions. And they also felt more knowledgeable about the roles of the various special education team members that they would be collaborating with. We had a decrease in parents who reported that they felt unfamiliar with the process or were still not sure on how to advocate for their child. So we were thrilled, the things we saw improved, and the things we wanted to see decrease, which was the sense of confusion and not knowing what to do. We did see some decrease as a result by our parents. So we're very excited about that. So circling back to where we started, to our why, when we conceived of the project, we really wanted to ensure that families were connected with the information and the resources that they needed to navigate the special education process. We also wanted to ensure that they had the resources and the understanding to address the emotions that come along with it. And I always tell families, I wish I had a magic wand so that we could minimize, how emotional this process is. And of course, none of us have that, but information is a bit of a magic wand because it does certainly temper the emotions and leaves our space in our brain, instead of trying to manage our emotions during a meeting. If we already know what to expect, we're able to just be more knowledgeable. And I think that in essence does also help the process become a little bit less emotional. We wanted families to know that, to have the knowledge that they needed to make informed decisions and provide informed consent, and also to develop positive and collaborative relationships with the other members of their child's educational team. Because we know that those partnerships are what really do change outcomes for kids. When families and staff work together, children do better in school. So most importantly, this benefits our students that we all care so much about. So we hope that this series is a great resource for our community, but also for your communities. We hope that you can use this tool, and we encourage you to watch it with intentionality for the key messages that we tried to build in that you can see here on the screen. And I won't read through these because I want to make sure we have some time to get you to these resources, but you can look through that, and then I'm sure they'll send a PDF out along. We're also getting a little bit close to the end, so you may not want to take time now, but I would encourage you to reflect on what you've learned today. And not just in this session, but all of our sessions. We know that our brains as adults learn best when we provide ourselves time with that reflection. So I'd like you to think about the needs of the families in your school districts and consider whether some of the experiences and the resources we're sharing today might strengthen your practices. We would encourage you to, as you think about family outreach, to co-create and to do things not just for families, but with families. That made all the difference for us, and I think made this project as powerful as we believe that it is. We also, as Monica mentioned, whenever we're facilitating learning sessions, we always co-facilitate with a parent as well, usually with Gina. So the next slide shows you how you can find the rest of the series. I was excited. Somebody wrote in the chat that they are eager to see episode 2, and we hope that you enjoy them. On our telenovela homepage, you'll see links to all of the episodes that are posted in YouTube. Also wanted to mention that you can turn on once, because they're in YouTube, families and staff can turn on language captioning in other languages as well. Probably not perfect, but it can hopefully make it a little bit more accessible. So you can go to our apsva.us//PRC URL, or use the QR code to get to the telenovela homepage, which will provide you with links to each episode as well as a description of each episode. If you want to learn more about our work or about the telenovela, I'm happy to field questions. So you can reach me by phone or email at the link above. And then we mentioned our facilitation guides. One of my summer projects is to get these in a more nice looking state. So I'm hoping that those will be available shortly to share with you as PDFs. And we welcome you to use and adapt this and spread the word and share it. We put a lot of love and effort into this, and we love the idea that it's being shared, not just in Arlington, Virginia, but across the country. Monica's even brought it to Puerto Rico, I think, right, Monica? Okay, so that's a little bit about the telenovela, and I'll turn this back over to Donna. Donna, I don't know if you want to wrap up and then open for questions, but I'm glad we have a few extra moments. All right.
Donna, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Kathleen. And yes, I've been asking for questions in the chat box. Please feel free to ask us questions there. I've posted contact info for Kathleen there. And you know, I think those guides are going to be wonderful for people to be able to use. We did a stories from the classroom on this telenovela with Gina and Kathleen. And if you would like to, you know, show your schools what this telenovela is all about, you can go to promotingprogress.org, and in this link, resources and tools, you'll see the drop down has stories from the classroom, and the very first one you'll see is the one on the telenovela. I put the link to that page in the chat there, and you know, bring it to your schools. I love that, you know, Kathleen and Monica are saying, you know, we want everyone around the country to be able to see these and utilize them. The next project is going to be adding different languages, right? Use the same script or similar script in different languages would be awesome. Missy says, just wonderful info. Really looking forward to checking out the website. Yay. Yes, all 5. And, you know, they're in nice bite-sized pieces, so no one feels overwhelmed, you know, around 10 minutes. And I think the discussion guides will be useful. Did you have a question? I see, feel free to open your mic if you have a question too.
No, you just mentioned my name, so I wanted them to actually see that who was here. So.
Thank you, Missy.
But thank you. It was excellent. Excellent.
Yay. If anyone else has questions, feel free. We have a couple more minutes. Is there a grade or age that you would recommend including the student in the meetings to begin understanding the journey and build self-efficacy skills?
I'd love to speak to that. So I would say as young as possible. We encourage even pre-K and kindergarten, first grade, or, you know, early elementary students to participate in some way, to know that there's a team, that families and staff are working together to figure out how their brains like to learn. And, you know, whether it's just joining the meeting to invite, you know, parents to their teachers, or, you know, we work a lot with the I'm Determined project in Virginia. I'll put it in the chat. It's called imdetermined.org. And they've got some great templates if you're outside of Virginia that are accessible to anybody, that talk about, like, you know, my best day, and really helping to build self-advocacy skills. So we think it really is helpful for families, you know, to start talking with teachers about how can we incorporate our child to the extent that they're able and ready. Certainly by middle school, you know, we want kids to understand a little bit about how their brains work and what strategies are effective for them. I think having a student actually in the room changes the tone of the meeting a lot, sometimes for the better. We encourage families to bring, you know, a binder with like pictures of their child, so that we're all focused on, you know, not just the 27 pages of boxes that we need to check off, but actually the human being that we're talking about. One of my colleagues has worked.
I was wondering if you also recommend person-centered, you know, program that.
Yeah, we do.
Steps.
One of our colleagues has really worked on a self-determination project in Arlington to really have by high school students leading their IEP meetings. So we are big fans of that.
Kathleen, also, if I may, we are using this a lot of, I am in the high school and Arlington Career Center, and I encourage the student not all, because they're transitioning to their post-secondary education, and they need to know, and they are educating themselves out the whole process. Sometimes they are part of the process and they don't really know what is the role. And this is not only for the parents, we really encourage the parents to know when the children are younger, but as soon I am noticing how the students are learning from this novella, and they are embracing and celebrating disability and advocating for themselves, because sometimes they don't have the opportunity to speak up and say, well, this is not working anymore, or this is need to work this way. Then we are really inviting the students to be part of the process and using the novella with them too, especially for second language. It's a connection. It's so funny when the students were watching the novella with the parents, it was a connection then between them, because sometimes this child speaks English, the parents speak Spanish, and it's a gap, and it's kind of everyone in their own way, watching the novella, laughing about it, identify themselves and abuelita and everyone in the process, really make a connection, and that empower the family to continue the journey together. And especially after they finish high school and they have to advocate in their colleges or any post-secondary plan and say, you know, these are the, if it's possible, these are the supports that I need.
Someone was asking about parent resource centers. I'm going to put a link in the chat here about a national, the Center for Parent Information and Resources. And you can find, I believe every state has a parent resource center by state. Oh, there, Amy. Did the same thing I did, and I didn't see yours at the same time. Thanks for doing that.
It sounds as though there was a question about parent guides.
There was a question about accessing where the discussion guides could be found. I don't know if you wanted to just go back, and I can go back to the slide, Kathleen.
Yeah, thanks so much. So right now they are on my desk. We're hoping to get them online somewhere. We're trying to figure out, I think what we're going to likely do is to put them into a Google Doc that we can then share so that anybody who wants them can do them. They're not quite publish ready yet, but they are coming. We're hoping by the end of the summer we'll have those. So if you want to request them, use that link that Amy has popped back up. Can either use the bit.ly or that QR code, and we will be glad to send you a link to all of the facilitation guides.